everybody, it's Sarah and I can really not talk today. My nose is kind of clogged up because I'm getting a cold and it's really annoying and kind of keeps me from saying a whole sentence without having to stop and start over. Anyway, today's video is going to be a tag, and that tag is the TMI versus TID tag. This tag is actually quite old. I was not tagged by anyone, but I will leave the original video in the description box down below. And this tag was revived kind of by Emma Books, and she added the dark artifices to the tag, so it's now not only the TMI versus TID tag, but TMI versus TID versus TDA tag. And so I will leave her video down in the description box down below as well. Before the release of Queen of Air and Darkness, I have seen this tag float around Twitter and Booktube, and I really wanted to do it, but I wanted to wait until I read Queen of Air and Darkness, and you will see a little bit later why I wanted to wait. The tag basically asks you different questions concerning categories and which book is your favorite in all those categories, and you add up points, and at the end you will know logically which of the series is your favorite. I'm gonna say beforehand that if I had to choose one favorite series now, I would choose The Infernal Devices, which is my absolute favorite. Let's see if that's actually what this tag is going to tell me. Maybe another series is gonna be my favorite. Anyway, let me get started. The first question is my favorite main character. Of course, the main characters are Clary Frey, Tessa Gray, and Emma Carstairs. First of all, let's just put Clary Frey out of the game. She's out of the mix. I think even a lot of people who absolutely love all of the series can agree that Clary is kind of an annoying character, and yeah, I don't like her. Similarly, I think Emma Carstairs is kind of annoying, and I just noticed that I have the third book in my hand. Who cares? It's also on the thumbnail, so I'll just roll with it now. But I like Emma Carstairs, contrary to Clary. I don't really like Clary, but she's still kind of annoying and she's really selfish, and I remember I really couldn't stand her in the first book, but she grew a bit on me in the second and the third book. But this point just without a doubt for me belongs to Tessa Gray. Tessa Gray is one of my favorite main characters of all time. I love her so much. She's also one of the characters that I relate to the most. So yeah, Tessa gets the point. The next question is, who is our favorite Herondale? So those three Herondales are Chase, Will, and Kit. 14-year-old me would have definitely picked Chase because I love him. But now, for me now, how I am, he just has a bit too much of the whole tragic hero thing. Which I can't vibe with that anymore. I really like Chase in the dark artifices. Like, he still has his sarcastic, snarky thing, but he doesn't have the whole tragic hero mentality anymore, which might be because we don't really get any chapters from his POV, or at least only one or two, but he just... Original Chase, just no. Will as well. Actually, if I had done this before I read Queen of Air and Darkness, Will would have probably won. But Will, he also has very much of the tragic hero mindset. But in him, for some reason, I just like it a bit more. I think it's a bit more understandable why he's acting the way he is and why he's pushing everyone away. But he still doesn't get the point. Kit gets the point. He 100% gets the point. He is quite an unlikable character in Lady Midnight, and even at the beginning of Lord of Shadows, in the continuation of Lord of Shadows, and in Queen of Air and Darkness. He becomes such an amazing character, and I love him so freaking much. He is... my heart reaches out for him. His relationship with Ty is amazing. His connection with Livia was also amazing, and I love it so much, and just his whole development in a series. So he's currently one of my #1 characters in the whole entire Shadowhunters series world, and I love him a lot, so this point goes to him. The next question is favorite love triangle, and those triangles of course are Chase, Simon and Clary, Will, Tessa and Jem, and then Emma chose Mark, Jules and Emma for a love triangle, and I don't even really feel like there was a love triangle because Emma didn't really love Mark in any way. Like, that wasn't really an option. So I'm going with the love triangle of Kieran, Mark, and Christina for the Dark Artifices. I feel so bad because it's the original series, but Simon, Clary, and Chase just don't do it for me. They're a very tropey love triangle and a very obvious love triangle, and they're the type of love triangle everyone hates, because everyone knows if Clary were to choose at any point, she would choose Chase. And it's just, I don't even feel like it's spoiling anything, because it's not. Honestly, it's so hard for me to choose between these two love triangles, and it's really hard not to spoil anything for me from this one, but I just want to say that like both of them are really well done, and with both of them you don't really care who ends up with whom actually. Also this one, like Mark and Kieran are amazing together. I love them so much. Kieran and Jem are both my babies though, like both of them. I love both of them so much. And they're just both really well done love triangles because you don't care how it ends. And that's how a good love triangle should be. Like, you don't want to be team A or team B. Ultimately, I will have to go with the Infernal Devices though, because overall those characters are just more nostalgic to me. I love Christina and Mark as well, but Will and Tessa are just, they're closer to my heart, if you understand what I mean. The next question is favorite villain, and I'm gonna pull this one out beforehand because whereas there are a lot of good villains in this story and in this trilogy, I feel like there's not like one big villain. Like, I feel like there's a different main villain for each book. And it would be kind of a spoiler to reveal who kind of the final villain is. So I'm just gonna pull this out of the game. And then we have either Mortmain or Sebastian or Valentine from this book, and I think it's not even a question that both Sebastian and Valentine are much more interesting as villains than Mortmain is. I thought Mortmain was kind of a weak villain. It was like the main thing that just wasn't really a fan of in this whole series. So the point goes to the Mortal Instruments. Next is favorite army, and that's of course the Dark Army for the Mortal Instruments, or the Endarkened, the Clockwork Army for the Infernal Devices. And then Emma said she chose a threat rather than an army for the Dark Artifices, and she chose the threat of the Parabatai bond. However, I don't vibe with it that way, and so I chose the cohort as the army for the Dark Artifices. I think this question is the one that's really the hardest, and it depends on which way to go. Like, the Clockwork Army is really scary in a very classical sense. You have all those clockwork creatures that you can't really kill because they're made with demon energy and all that stuff, and that's like, in a very classical horror sense, it's really scary. The Endarkened are also scary because they're basically loved ones changed, so it just makes it really hard for you to fight them and to kill them. But ultimately, because of how realistic it is, I had to choose the cohort. Because bigotry is something we just know in our day-to-day life, and it's something that influenced a lot of wars that led to a lot of tragedy in history already. So that's just something that I think is so scary because it's so realistic and it's so everyday, and it's not something that's part of a fantasy book. It's not something where you read it and you're scared, but then you close your book and it's okay because it's never gonna happen realistically. But it's just, it did already happen multiple times, and it looks like it might happen again in the near future, so cohort it is. Next is favorite first book in the series, and like in all the videos that I watched, it was always the same book, and it's also gonna be that book for me because realistically you just can't choose another book, no matter how much nostalgia you might connect with City of Bones or Clockwork Angel. Lady Midnight is just the best first book in one of those series. Just the way it sets everything up and so on is amazing. The writing, Cassandra Clare improved so much since City of Bones. The way she builds the characters, the way she introduces the new characters, it's amazing, and it's just without a doubt the best first book. Next is my favorite female supporting character, And those characters are either Izzy Lightwood from the Mortal Instruments, Cecily Herondale from the Infernal Devices, or Christina Rosales from the Dark Artifices. And actually, I don't agree with Cecily for the Infernal Devices. I think both Sophie and Charlotte are way better characters, and I love them way more than Cecily. Cecily, I love her now, but I think while I read the book for the first time, I thought she was really annoying. Christina, I love Christina, but she's a bit too much of a goody two-shoes. I can't with goody two-shoes characters. They can get kind of boring, although I really love her. And so at this point, if there was ever any doubt, goes to Isabel Lightwood, because she's Isabel Lightwood. Duh. The next one is favorite setting, and of course that's the New York Institute, Los Angeles Institute, and London Institute. And even not considering it's set in the 19th century, which I think always makes stories more interesting. I'm very much a historically interested person. I like historical settings. Is there any doubt that London would win? Like, maybe I'm biased, and maybe it's because I've never been to anywhere in the USA, even though I'm interested to go at some point in my life. I just think that like European cities, and even not just European cities, also when you think like of a lot of Asian cities, a lot of Middle Eastern cities and so on, they just, even if you don't use it in your story, they just have so much history that American cities just don't have. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I don't want to offend anyone. But that American cities just don't have. That just gives a depth to the story. That just makes it more interesting. Which might be because I know London. That there's also a lot of depth there for me. Because I can visualize it a lot better. But even without that, this depth I have also found in books that are set in cities that I've never been to. So like, it's just what I prefer. Give me a setting that has a lot of history and I will love it. Next is our favorite final book in a series. And of course those are City of Heavenly Fire, Clockwork Princess, and now Queen of Air and Darkness. And honestly, this question is really difficult for me to answer. So I'll just go book by book. So first, Queen of Air and Darkness. I really enjoyed it, but the thing I had with it is that there were a lot of different plot points and there were a lot of points in the book that already kind of felt like a climax. So that was kind of meh. Even though I liked all parts individually, I felt like it might have been better actually split into 2 books. So I don't know. That's why it's not my favorite of the last ones. And between City of Heavenly Fire and Clockwork Princess, I was sure I would choose Clockwork Princess, but now thinking about it, actually I might prefer City of Heavenly Fire overall as a last book, because I don't think there was that much that happened in Clockwork Princess, and just the finale, like the end of the book, was better in City of Heavenly Fire, I think. So I'll go with that one. And the last question is the epilogue, and to be honest, Queen of Air and Darkness is out of the game right at the very beginning, because for me an epilogue is something that kind of should be an end to the series. And this epilogue, and I don't think that's spoilery, it just... the only use of this epilogue is to set up the Wicked powers. So not the next series, which is The Last Hours, but the one after that, which is going to follow Kit and Ty. And it's kind of unnecessary, I think, because there was a bit of setup already, but realistically, Cassandra Clare said that the first book in that series is going to come out 2022, so it's just, I would have just preferred an epilogue that was just a nice wrap up of the whole series and a bit more emotional. And between City of Heavenly Fire and Clockwork Princess, is it even a question? Like, City of Heavenly Fire had a good epilogue. It was a really good epilogue. I almost cried, I think, but there was just some things that were lacking for me, which I won't mention right now because it's a spoiler for the epilogue. But Clockwork Princess is everything you want in an epilogue. I would say it's like a Deathly Hallows epilogue, but done right. Like a look into the future, but it also really wraps up well, and it just kind of retells everything that happened in the life of the characters after everything that happened, and I cried so much, and I cry so much every time I read that epilogue, and it's just beautiful and I love it, and it will be forever one of my favorite epilogues of all time. So now I have my scores, and surprisingly it's actually quite even. Like, the infernal devices are only ahead by 1 point. I gave 4 points to the infernal devices and then 3 each to the dark artifices and the mortal instruments, so I guess I like all of them like mostly the same. But anyway, that was it for this tag. I really hope you enjoyed it. Again, the original video as well as Emma Book's video will be in the description box, so go and check those out. All my social media are also in the description box down below, so go and check those out as well. And if you liked this video, please maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and subscribing, and I really hope you enjoyed it. Bye!